Let me introduce the speaker to you, the facilitator for today. She's a graduate in business administration, specialized in finance and accountings. She's also an advanced management accounting diploma holder from CIMA, and she's also got more than 3 years of work experience at MAS Holdings, DC Consultancy, and now works as a finance associate for business partnering with London Stock Exchange Group. So without further ado, let me hand over the session to Ms. Wagisha Ruwini.
Thank you, Murthy. Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm loud and clear for everyone. So if you are not clear on me speaking or anything, you can raise your hand and stop me anytime. So I'm going to start the session. I hope you all have your materials open. I'll first take you all through the theory part of the Power BI, so you all can get ready with the other stuff, and we'll do some interactive. I hope that you all can do the same stuff that I do, so you're familiar with what is going on. Let me share my screen. I hope you all can see the screen. Can someone confirm me that you all can see the screen?
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Okay, so today we are going to learn about Power BI from Microsoft softwares. So let's start with why we are using Power BI as a tool. So we are living in a data era where we talk about data and information at a large scale, and we are in a culture where decision making are driven by data. Every information technology, we had information technology era, industrial era. So now it has come into a data era where data has the ability, if you explore and worked on it correct, that it will provide you insights. So raw data to insights, this is where Power BI comes as a tool. So why Microsoft and why Power BI? Let's start with why Power BI. So Power BI is a Microsoft tool which allows you to do data modeling and provide insights with a more interactive data visualization tool. So what you have in left, so what we have up until now, we all use Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint as a way of analyzing data and visualizing data. So my Power BI is actually an advanced extension version of the Power Queries in Microsoft Excel. I'm sorry, So Excel has the same modeling features if you really study into Excel Power Queries. So if you have Excel Power Queries knowledge, Power BI is simply easy as it is. So and we have PowerPoint, we basically use as a visualization tool. So the main difference between these two tools and Power BI is more interactive in visualization, and it is more insightful where you can filter from another visual to get interrelative information about the data. So that's where Power BI has come forward in point of Excel and the PowerPoint. So why Microsoft? We all know that we all use Microsoft as a very user-friendly tool for the softwares. So even with the Power BI, Microsoft is the market leader because it's easy to use and it keeps on upgrading its features so that it meets market demand and people user friendliness very often. So that's why there's all the other tools that this is given by Gartner corporations. So all the other tools are also BI visualization tools, but Microsoft is a market leader. It's where most people use this as the BI tool. So we have an understanding on why we are using it, why this Power BI software. So we'll start on the very basic of the Power BI as a tool. So Power BI has three phases, which is ETL, data modeling, visualization, and DAX. So ETL and data modeling is the data cleansing and creation part of the model, and insights are derived through visuals and DAX. So we'll first start with ETL. ETL stands for extract, transform, load. Power BI can extract data from various sources. So some of them are listed here like CSV files, Excels, and it can even directly link to the databases such as SQL. Okay, so we can extract data from any of these sources. And then the next step would be transform, where you can input raw data and you can edit it and transform it into a format where it is easy for you to derive information. So this is known as transform. So extract, we loaded the data, we created, we formatted and transformed. This is mainly happening in Power Query, which I will explain you with the tool itself. And then you load it. When you load the data, it will load into the Power BI. This is where you will do the data modeling. Data modeling is the utmost important part of the Power BI. Data modeling shows the relationships between different tables of data that you input. This is very important because this will decide on how the data is filtered for your data model. Whatever the model you're building, how the data is filtered, how the relationships are created, and how you derive insights and interrelationships are decided based on how you build this model. So data modeling is very important in the Power BI. Then the insights, obviously visualization is something everyone is familiar, I believe. So we have different visuals which are commonly used in other Microsoft softwares, and there are some other new visualization available. We'll take you all through that later. And DAX is the computer language used in Power BI. And this will go in detail. I'll take you all through some. And this is very similar to functions that you see in Excel. It's just that little differences, but if you're familiar with the function in Excel, DAX, catching up with DAX is not that hard. This is the basic introduction into the Power BI. Do we have any questions up until now that y'all need to take through? Let me see whether y'all have any. Nope, no chat, so I'm gonna continue. Okay, so this is again just a process of a Power BI flow. So you have raw data that you take it from different sources. You input into the Power Query where you shape, transform data into a format that is easy for you to work with. Then you load it and you have the data model where you create the relationships and create the basis for data model. And then you have pivots, DAX, and other visualizations to derive insights. Before we take you through the data modeling, I think it is important that you all see Power BI tool itself. So when you open up your Power BI desktop app, it will open up into something like this. So you will see here, you will have if you have worked on any dashboards before, your recent files here, you can start working on your dashboard right from here to export data and to open other reports, all this. What I'll take you through is I'll just close this. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, so this is the basic outlook of the software that you see. So what you have here is the front canvas where you do all the pretty stuff, if you say. The visualization and the dashboard creation is done in this canvas. So this is the front end. So you can see same ribbons. I'll take you all through these ribbons in a while. So you have these ribbons that you can use in your dashboard building. Then you have the visualization pane here. You will have the fields. When you upload the data, you can see your fields and the tables here. And there are 3 tabs in this Outlook. The first one is the front canvas where you build the dashboard. And then you have this tab which is called data. If you go into that, I'm sorry. Okay. So you will see when you load the data, the tables, you can see the tables in this canvas. Okay. And then you have the third tab, which is the data modeling tab, where you will see the relationships of the data that you are creating. While we are at this, I think I'll take you all through the backend also. So if you go to here, transform data and transform data, you will be able to access the backend canvas of Power BI. So the backend canvas is also known as the Power Query Editor. This is where the ones I talked about, the transform of data is happening mainly here. But that does not tell that Power BI restrict transform data into the backend. Most of these functions can be done on the front canvas also, but more detailed transform, shaping and cleansing work can be done in this backend work. So for now, I think you're all vaguely familiar with what are the phases, and we'll go through in detail with the functions as we go through the course. Okay, so data modeling, as I said, is the base of your model. So this is very important. So when you load in a data, for here, for example, we'll take sales. So you have the details of your sales in a one table with their product ID, the time or the date, the store, the employee, sales type, price, and quantity. So you have this data in a one table. Then you can input other data types like sales type. So for your company, you just give sales ID and the name in another table. So you can have similar data that is relevant for your organization in terms of product, time, store, employee. Okay, so you have these different types of data around. These are the unique fields for your company. And the front one is the grow fact sheet that includes every information that is there for your sales. So when you create relationships, it is important that you create relationships with the table that has unique values into your fact sheet. So for example, employee ID is a unique value for employees. There's no same employee ID repeating twice, so that you can link employee ID into your fact sheet where you can derive sales information based on employees. Same with the other information types, product ID, sales type, store ID, date. These everything should be unique so that you can create a model around it, so that you can filter data so you can derive insights into the sales information. Now you all can see that there's arrows coming in from all these unique tables into our fact sheet. And there's M and 1 marked. So this defines what kind of a relationship is there between the unique field and your fact sheet. 1 to M means there's 1 to many. There's a unique field in sales and there's many of the same detail repeating on your fact sheet. So that is the basic relationship type that is defined in this model. This is very important that I will take you all through these relationships and cardinalities separately because that will define what your data model is. For now, we'll just focus on saying data modeling is where there is a fact sheet and there are other details that is supporting that, where it would define how the data is filtered, where you can derive insights on different information around it. You all can see in this model that is created here, it looked like a star. You have one in the middle and the lines relationships going to each and every other table. So this is called a star schema. So it looks like where you have a central data point where it can be filtered from any other category that you want to derive information. I know this is a tough little bit of, you all might have so many questions around it, but with the basics, are you all comfortable with the basic of data modeling? Are there any questions around this before we continue any further?
We have a question in the chat box.
Yes,
Someone has asked, do we need,
do we need to know Microsoft Excel? No, you don't need to know Excel to do work with Power BI. What I meant earlier was it is easier to work because if you know Excel, because I believe most of people have used Excel. So if you used Excel, it is very little changes and little advanced medium into the Power BI. So it is easier. That does not mean you need to know Excel. You can just learn this. And then if you learn this, it will be easier for you to work on Excel also. It goes hand in hand. It does not mean you need to know Excel. Yes, sure, sir.
Do you have a question? Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, right? Yes,
yeah. So if we import the SQL data, like SQL Server or Oracle data, the data modeling part is needed to done?
It is like this. Data modeling part is needed to be done because it is finding the basis for the model that we are creating on the Power BI. I know that SQL has a different modeling going on.
Yes.
Unless you link the model in SQL straight to Power BI, there's very advanced joining link to that. Which I'm not very familiar. I have not gone through SQL, but what I have learned is unless you import the data model itself, you have to do the data modeling in Power BI.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a good question because data modeling can be done separately and you can import the data modeling itself into the Power BI. Yes, that could be done in an advanced situation.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Any other questions into the model? Okay. Yeah. I hope if y'all have any questions going forward, y'all can ask. So I'll just move on with some. Okay, so we'll begin with the app Power BI. Okay, so first what we are going to look through, I took you all through this part just to give an understanding, but we'll start with the Power Queries. So Power Queries is the backend canvas that I'll show you. So this is where you get and transform data. Again, as I told you, get and transform data is not only limited to the Power Query, you can do it in the front canvas also. But for here is where you are meant to do it. And so this is the backend canvas. So you all see this front tab, the ribbon, where you have the basic things that you all can do. So if I'll take you through this very quickly. So you have close and apply, where after all your transformations and cleaning, where you can load it to the front canvas, you do it here. You can get the new source data, where you load the get data is from this new sources. You can quickly access your recent sources here. You can also create tables and enter data in the Power BI itself. You don't have it to have an external source to load data here. If you want, you can type and create data in the Power BI itself. This is where you have data source settings, so you can give the filed paths, folder paths changes can be done here. You can change parameters, where you can tell which formats it needs to be done. There are refresh, query refresh options are there. Then the basic transform features like to delete rows, include columns, remove columns, split data. You all know that you can split data from delimiters. You want to group it, change types, merge queries, append queries. So there are so many. So this is the basic tab where you have everything, and you have so many other tabs where you have functions where it is specifically working on these needs to transform or to do anything with columns, for any viewings and other tools, and you have the help tab also. So this is the backend basic ribbon that you will use. Mostly whatever the functions you need can be used from this home tab. So that is the Power Query. So this is basically going into the details of the functions of the tables. So it is said that for Power BI to work, that data needs to be in tabular format. Tabular format is easier to work with in the Power BI. As I said, it is an extension of Excel. So Excel has sheets which are in tabular formats, columns and rows. So they are using the same concept here in Power BI, where data will be in columns and rows. So as I took you all through, so you all have this remove columns, add columns. So you can do the basic transform like that. You can use these functions to remove or select columns, remove rows. All the functionalities are there. You can sort it, split it, data type. This is very important. This defines what kind of data is stored in a column. So this defines how the data is used in the model. So when you load the data, it is very important that you choose the correct format of data. Otherwise, you all can get errors. And these are again promote header rows. These are like functions that is helping you to clean and transform the data into a more presentable format. And you have, like, if you go here, you have the same functions that you see in Excel, where you can remove, edit, copy, replace values. So I think it is easier. We'll go through the functions while we are doing the work as we go through in these sessions, rather than just going through the functions as a theory part. So this is the basic table transformation functions that is there for you. And this is text specific. So you all can delimitate. So that means you can split or divide a certain string based on whatever the characters that you have, and derive information through a text that is there. Then you have this lowercase, you want to format whatever the text that is there, and you can extract characters from a text. So these basic features that is there for you to edit data to a presentable format. Okay, so this is one of very useful tool that has come across Power BI as pivoting and unpivoting. Okay, so why this is necessary is where Power BI is allowing you to automate data, automate the processes of presenting and deriving insights for your business or whatever the decisions you make. So when you are given a format, it is important that you have formatted this where you have minimal manual interventions when you're going forward, when you are doing this work. So in this picture, y'all can see that year is given horizontally into this table. Just imagine this is yearly sales values that is inputted to the system for you to derive sales data. When you have this, just imagine that you all want to go and review certain year through a filter. You will have to manually select each column every time. Okay, so that is manual intervention. So that is too much work for you to do. So when you all make this year into a column where you can have everything in the rows and cells, now when you filter it, you can simply have sales while you filter. You don't have to go and select each and every column to derive the sales information. Okay, so you can simply have the year filter where when you filter from year, sales value will appear. I'm going to show you all how to do this practically, and we'll go through some of the features at the same time. So I have the previously opened backend canvas. What I'm going to do is I go to new source, and I'm going to just load the Excel file. So I'm going to choose Excel workbook. So in your exercise files, it's the exercise file 1, pivot and unpivot. I just select it and then you say open. Let's give it some time. Okay, so when you load the data, it will open into a pane called Navigator. So here you will see the sheets, or if you have formatted into a table in Excel, the tables will be shown here. So you can click on this and it will preview what is the format your data is in. Okay, and then if you tick it, it will enable you to load this. Okay, so I'm gonna click OK. While it is loading, let me take you all through the Excel. Does it allow me to? Nope. Okay, it is loaded. Okay, so here in Excel, you all can see I have just inputted raw data into rows and columns. This is not on a table format. Okay, so I have not created a table format here. So it will look, when you load it, it will look like this. Since it is not in a table format, it will not recognize that these dates are my actual column names. It will just pick it as raw data rows. Okay, so here I will have to do some cleansing for it to make these dates as my column names, and this books is what is my data row is. So what I'm going to do is you have this feature here called use first row as headers. Okay, so I'm gonna do that, and it will shift it where the first row has become my column headers for this. Okay, I'll just show you one. So this is, so if it's not too many information and it is as simple as 2 rows, it is okay to have it in a raw data format and do the cleansing there. But if it's a large data set, what it is advised is that you select this, you go to insert. I'm sorry, this is very slow. And you make it a table from here, insert table. Okay, so I'm gonna make a table. So it will look something like this. Just you all know, if when you're using Excel, whenever you do a change, you have to save it for the Power BI to pick it. Okay, I'm gonna load another one just to show how the difference between the loading of files when you have it in a table format and just tabular format. Okay, I'm gonna load it again. To open into your navigator pane, and as I said, so it will show you the option. You can still have the sheet option, and then you have this tabular option. So y'all can see in tabular option it has already picked my dates as the column names. So when I click that and load, so you can skip the transformation steps if you have it like this. So I don't have to make the rows my column headers. It will come like this itself. Some of the transform function you all can learn from here. So it will give an error now that I have changed the source. Okay. So we'll use this format for now. Whatever the steps you do, you can see it in here. Okay, so that's okay. This has an error. So I promoted headers and change types. I can just go back on my stats and review whatever I have done. And you all can change, delete steps from here as required when you're doing it. So this shows whatever you do will come here as applied steps. You can rename your tables here. Yeah, so it gives an error because I have changed the source. You can leave it for now. So now we have loaded the table and it is on the presentable format. Now I want to unpivot it so that I get the dates into one column. For me to do that, I go to transform ribbon and you have unpivot columns here. One way to do is you select this one, you go here, and I tell them to unpivot all the other columns that I have not selected. Or what you can do is you can select all the columns. And I'm going to unselect the item column and just tell unpivot only the selected columns. Either way, which is good. So you will get your dates into one column and your values into the other. I have this repeating itself. So I'm going to rename this column as date for the ease, and you have the value. So now you all can see date is in a text format, which is wrong. So here this ABC means text, so which is wrong. I want this to be dates. So what I do is I go here and change it to date. So it will look like a calendar here. You all can change the type from here also. Okay. So the values are in number format, which is good for me. Books are in text format, which is okay. I'm gonna just delete this query, or else it will give an error when loading. Okay. Quickly rename this as and go here. You can close and apply the back canvas, or you can just apply, so you can have simultaneously working on your backend work here. For now, I'm gonna close and apply. Okay, so it is still loading. Okay, so it has loaded. This green tick shows that it has no errors. Yes, it's working on it. Let me close it. Okay, so when you close it, it should load here, so y'all can see your table in your relationship format. And if you go to data, the table should appear there. So the data is appearing here, and you can see the fields from here. It will show your columns in the fields, and in the front canvas you can still. So for quickly, what I'll do is I'll put a slicer here just to show why pivot and unpivoting is important. You all can pick the date from here to your field. And then I'm gonna just put a simple card to get the value. Okay, so when you change the date, it will filter and show you easily, where you just don't have to go select this year for this value to show up. So that is the very basic, and we have just loaded one sheet. I think we all can take a break and come back, and we'll go through the other functions. Do we have any questions up until now?
We'll pause for like 5-10 minutes, right? Break.
Yeah. Yes.
If there's any questions, you all can put it in the chat box or turn on your mics and ask. We'll be restarting around 11:30. Also, guys, fill in the attendance sheet from that link in the chat box so we can share the presentation with you and the other materials with you at the end of the session.
Hi, sorry. Can I know if there'll be another session for this? I kind of missed the first.
Yeah, no, we've anyway recorded the session, so we'll be sharing that also with you after the session. We'll also be having another session in about a couple of weeks from like an additional.
Okay, thank you.
Guys, do we have any more questions before we start again? Also, just a reminder again to fill in the attendance form so we can share the presentation and recordings with you. Yeah, Imna, so what's your question?
I have a question about Excel. I use Excel on Google Sheets. Are the functions on Google Sheet, the Excel functions on Google Sheet different to the downloaded version on the desktops?
I think it's the same, but 1 second, I'll ask the facilitator. We'll start now, so then.
I'm here. No, it
Yeah.
is the same.
It's the same. I couldn't. Can you show how you transform the table, the data set in the Excel sheet? How you clicked on table? I couldn't find that feature to try and do it on my sheet.
Okay. So what you do is, I'll just enter it. Otherwise, I won't. I'm sorry. Okay, so can you see the ribbon insert in your Excel?
Yeah.
You just go there. You have to select data. So I'll just so fast. And you can see the table. Can you
All
see?
right.
Just select that.
Oh,
You have to select your data. Okay. I'm just randomly putting numbers so I can show. You just select your area. You go here, insert table. It works for your shortcut Control T also. So you can say whether if you have headers, you can click on this. You can always change the area. You go here. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ruwini, if you're ready, we can continue with the session.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so we went through pivoting and unpivoting, appending queries. So this is another feature that is available in your Power BI where you can merge or append queries. So imagine you have a same set of two tables where you need to combine those two tables together. You can use append queries. So append queries is a vertical combining of tables. So when your first table ends, it will add the other table to the end of your table. That is append queries. Okay. So for you to append queries, it should have the same set of columns. Otherwise, you can't combine the end of a table to the beginning of the other table. If it's both the same, it will combine the end and the beginning of the tables together. So that's what you say, that this is to add rows. Appending means you're combining the end of a one table to a beginning of another table in the same format. And you have a pro tip where you say you can do the same from a folder connect. We'll go through that later so you all understand it better. For now, remember that append queries is same set of columns, additional of rows where it is end to beginning of a table combining. The other, I think we'll go through the folder connect, so easier for you all to understand that better. So I told you all can do the work from the front canvas also. So if in your front canvas, in your home ribbon, there's again, you all can see get data here. Go there and you go to the option that says more. And you select the option saying folder. And then you say connect. Now this feature is very important if you are saving the same file format in different periods of times, so that you don't have to go back and load data every time you save a file. So folder connect means anything that is there in that folder will be picked for that. So that is from your sources, that is the exercise 2. You just select it. You can go like this and select your folder path, or you can just easily search it here and just copy paste this folder path to the same location as well. Whichever is easier for you all, then I said okay. This will show what are the files available in that folder. Now you all can see there's a binary one with this one record which is repeating the 31st July. This is because I have opened the file here just to take you all through. So my Excel format would look something like this. So I'm saving information monthly into the folder. So that's what I'm trying to say here about the sales details. So you have it here, you go here, say combine, it will automatically append the data. Okay, so you can say combine and transform. I just want to see how the data looks. So I'm going to say go to the backend and see whether the data is in the correct format. You do that, it will evaluate and load the query to the backend. Again, it will tell you what I need to append here. So it's always, as I said, data in the table format is easier to work with. So I'm going to just select that. If you want both to choose, you all can see that tick option is not there now. If you want both to choose, you just select this folder. It will load both of these. So sheet is the same in just in tabular format. This is formatted table format. So I'm just going to select the table format. So you all can see it has automatically append the data where it is loaded as 31st July and 31st August, and now it is a one table rather than two sheets loading in. So this is what happens when you do a folder connect. You can do the same thing if you load it by files. I'm just gonna go and load it separately. Load it separately. I'm gonna select. Now just imagine that I want to combine this folder one and this sales one together. So you all can see times items and quantity, and it is the same here. It is items and quantity, and you have the source name that is picking up because it is a folder connect. I can just delete the source name for now, and just if it's the same number of columns here, you can just go here, append queries. You can append queries. I can append it to the existing, or you can append it to have a separate table created just for that. You can just go to append queries. So I'm just two tables, and my other table to append is sales. I said okay. It will add to the end of the table. The new data will be added, so it will come as a one table. So that is the append queries and folder connect. Folder connect is automatically appended, and even though you did not give a folder connect, you can manually append data also, as long as it is in the same column format. Any questions up until there? Please do ask. You can stop me anytime you want. No, I don't see anything there.
So far, we don't have anything on the chat box.
Yep, cool. We'll go ahead with some other functionalities. Just go with me with these functionalities. In next session, we'll build a dashboard on our own, so you all can really get familiarized with what I am talking here now. Okay. So conditional formatting is a function that can be used by you all to derive insights and information. Just imagine you need to map something based on certain conditions that you have. You can use this feature to map that data and create data from your existing raw data. So just the example given here is from the quantities, based on quantity number, whether you can define it as whether it's a large quantity, medium quantity, or a small quantity. This is also known, if you're familiar with Excel, this is also known as the if function in Excel. So rather than typing it in a long formula, you can easily use this feature where it gives you as a box, and you can simply put your data and create this conditional column. So this is one functionality that is there for you all to form data. Relationships. This is, I took you all through this with the data modeling. So I'm going to go in detail into the data modeling here, where it is the relationships between tables that create the model. So you all can see one of the basic features that I said is there's an arrow that is going in, and there is a feature where it is dotted line or a one straight line. So if it's a one straight line, that means it is an active relationship. And if it's a dotted line, that means it is inactive. Active relationship is what actively filters the data in your model. But you can also have inactive relationships, and whenever you want to use it, there are other functions. There are other functions that you can use to activate it. But for a given two tables, you can only have one active relationship between those two. So that is the very basic rules in a relationships in a model. and then the cardinality. So I took you through this previously very quickly. One to many. So one to many means there's one unique field, and that field can be repeated in the next table many times. So that is known as one to many. So there's one to many, there's many to one, and many to many. Is there a question? I heard a
Yeah, that's a question.
yeah.
For conditional columns, can we see an example?
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to use the same thing just to define whether quantity is large, medium, or small. Okay, so what you're going to do is you can go to add column. There's this feature called conditional column. You select that. So this will open up into a pane like this. You can just say what output status or something like that. So the first condition is I'm going to define based on quantity. So I'm going to give my column names. I'm going to conditionally format based on quantity. I'm going to say if the quantity is, you can select any operator that you want. I'm going to say is greater than, let's look at the data table. Yeah, I have it. Is more than 350. Then I'm gonna tag it as it's a large quantity. And then I'm gonna add one more. If else quantity is greater than or equal to, I don't know, let's say 150. It is medium. And if it's none of the other above, it will be small. And I'm gonna press OK here. And it will just tell me books, it's a small quantity, pencils is medium, A4 sheets it's a large. So something like that. So you can just simply define. So next time you don't have to go and change it. Whatever the quantities that come here based on the conditions or the rules we have given, it will automatically decide the output status for you. You don't go manually and just check whether 100 is small, 250 is medium or large. It will automatically give it. Is that clear? I hope it is. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, they said it's clear. In the chat box it says yes.
Yes, cool. Okay, we were at cardinalities. So I was going through, there's cardinalities. That means how the relationship works. It is one to many to one, and many to many. But it is you should always remember never to have a relationship that is many to many. That means between two tables, if either of one table does not have a unique value, you should not be creating a relationship between those two tables. Okay, so that is one of the basic rules that is there. And I'll go back a little bit just to show. Now we have gone through the cardinalities, the format of the relationship, and you all can see there's this little arrow that comes up. This shows the direction of your filtering of the tables. You can have arrows in both ways or a single way. If it's both ways, that means both tables filter each other. And if it's one way, here what we are saying is calendar table filters food mart, the transaction table. So the arrow goes from calendar to transaction. So that means calendar table filters transaction table. yeah, so that's what we are going through here. I think that picture was much clear. So this shows the filter direction. How do you want the data to be filtered can be defined from that. Any questions from the cardinalities or relationships? That's kind of a basic theory that goes in, just to make sure you all understood that. Or did you all not understand that at all, the relationships? That's why no questions on it. Okay. I think the silence as you all understood the relationships and the cardinality. I'm gonna go ahead.
I think everyone understood.
Okay, good. Okay, so hierarchies is another important feature that you all see in Power BI, where you need to see your data based on a hierarchy. So imagine the example that is given here is geography. You can have your data based on your country, state, or city. So when you present the data about geography, you can have this hierarchy in where people can drill down and see into other aspects of geography rather than having three separate graphs based on country, state, and city. You can have one graph saying sales based on geography and have people drill down to see the country, state, and city. Just going one, drilling up and down for different levels in a hierarchy. So that is where hierarchy is useful. Let's see whether we can have a hierarchy here. I will. I'm gonna load this data. I'm sorry I have not prepared a table that could show you very meaningful hierarchy, but just go with me just for me to give that understanding into what hierarchy is. So this example is not the best to define hierarchy, but I'm going to show you the functionality of a hierarchy. Gonna take a little time to load. Okay, so my loaded files came up here. Okay, so imagine I want to present my data based on output status, and I will, after seeing output status, I'm going to let them know what are the items that is under output status. Okay, so what I'm going to do is there's three dots that appears in front of the field. You go here and you say create hierarchy. Okay. So it will create another field for my hierarchy that looks like this. So for now, I only have output status. I'm going to drag items and put it here. Okay. I'm gonna just edit to hierarchy just from here also. Usually the drag should work. Okay. So the output status hierarchy has two hierarchy steps, output status and items. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just very easily put a chart here. So I'm gonna have my hierarchy as the axis and the quantity as my values. I don't want the count, I want the sum to show the values. Okay, so it looked like this. So now it shows that my sales has large quantities, medium quantities, and small quantities. And then there's this once I click to turn on drill down, I'm going to click on that and just click on medium. It will show me what are there under medium category. So pens and pencils are in my medium sales. You can go back up. My large quantity sales comes from A4 sheets. So something like that. So you can have meaningful hierarchies so that people can use the same visual to get insights into different types of data through just one chart. I know not the best example, but I hope you all got the functionality clear on this. I'm just, if there's any questions, always just. So DAX, as I told you, that is the language used in Power Queries and Power BI. So you can have DAX in a format of columns and measures also. So DAX columns means if you want a value calculated for each row, you can have a calculated column. So what we did with conditional column previously, we wanted to see in each row whether that output is a large, medium, or a small quantity output. So we needed that calculation done for each row. That's why we included a conditional column. So column is where you calculate certain function for each row. And if you don't want it to be calculated to each row, you just need it as a whole one summed figure, you can use measures. So that won't calculate the function for each rows, just as a total of the column, it will calculate whatever it is. So just imagine you wanted to see whether the total sales is large, medium, or small, you would go for a measure. I think I'll do a measure just to show. I don't think we can cover everything in the session, but we'll go through some commonly used measures during our next session for just to give you all the feel. So I hope that columns are clear with the conditional column where we calculated whether it is which proportion is the output for each row. For you to calculate a calculated measure, you can go here and you can say new measure. 3 dots, new measure. You can have it here also, whichever is easier. So the same functions are given in separate places for the ease of your working. Just give it a time for it to come up. Okay, so it will appear in your function. So I'm gonna just say total sales. So what I'm gonna say is if sum of quantity. So when you type, it will give you the options which one to choose from. So based on where your field is, you can just select it. Sum of the month is greater than 500. I'm gonna call it large. If of quantity is greater than and equal to 300, I'm gonna call it, and if anything else, call it small. So y'all can say this does not calculate the functions for each row. I'm just gonna go here and I'm gonna include another card. And I'm gonna just pick that measure here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go here. And select a month which we had. You cannot do that. I'm gonna put another filter and I'm gonna pick items. If it's notebooks, it's gonna say it's a small quantity, so it was only 65. So I'm gonna select all of these three together, it will say it's a large. A4 sheets, just books, it's again, it's a medium quantity. So something like that. It won't tell you given for a certain row, but it will give you as a total where you stand. So that's the difference between a column and a calculated measure. Are we clear on that? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead with the others. So there are a lot of functions that we all can do to derive whatever the information. So these are very similar to what you have on your Excel. I have highlighted few: concatenate, format, calculate, user relationship, very commonly used in models, very commonly used in the models, and it is very similar to what you have on Excel. So you can have these normal ones as maths and statistics, you can have logical, anything to do with text formatting, filters, and date and time. So when we are doing in the next session, when we are actually building the dashboard, we will use some functions of all of these. So you all get familiar with the functions also. So we have done all the hard work, backend, cleaning, building the model, data insights, visuals. It's very important that we present the data in a presentable format that people understand the data correctly. So in visuals, you can see these bar charts and all these line charts, which are very commonly used visuals. So you have the options to use those. But there are few very commonly used special visuals that you can find only in the Power BI. So if I go from my right, you have the card. So card is a very commonly used just to show a number in a single box. You can use card, and there's tree maps. Then you have KPIs if you're measuring your performance against a target. Sorry, you can have the KPIs. Then you have this speedometer or gauge visual where you can show your achievement based on a target to see your achievement where you are at. More interactive and visual features like maps and waterfall or bridging charts to show how the differences are there between one total to another. And you always have advanced visual options where you can go and explore many other visuals that you can use that is freely available for you to download and use for your visuals. So those are the basic visuals, and we will go through in detail when we are building the dashboards. Actually, I'm done with all the theory parts that is there for the Power BI that I have created. So if you have any other questions or anything that you want me to go back and do, we can have that. I'm going to keep the dashboard building for next session, so we can actually do it very leisurely.
Thank you, Ms. Ruwini. Do we have any questions for this session? Any more questions?
Are you able to show the append, like the appending thing that you did once more? Because I tried doing it, but my like I had, so my sheet it combined, but I had the same item twice. Like it said pencil, I got pencils from both sheet twice. It didn't merge both the values into one item. Does that make
No.
sense?
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't pick her name.
I am in our side. Yeah.
Yeah. So Imansa. Okay. So yeah, no, it does not combine the value, Imansa. It does not.
Okay.
You will get two rows. What it basically does is it just append the two tables where you have additional rows all in one table. It wouldn't
Right.
add the values together. No, that is
Right.
not the function of it.
Okay. So if it has 5 rows in one sheet and 5 in another, it'll just make it
Make
10.
10.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is it an open source tool? Not really, but you have a 30-day free trial. If I'm not mistaken, it's a 30-day free trial. It's Microsoft software. But if you have Office 365, you can use it online. You don't have to download the app, if I'm not mistaken. Not an open source tool.